Welcome, friends. So, it has been a lot of fun here in Pennsylvania. I am staying in the township of Gettysburg. Got to meet some of my old friends in the National Park Services, and we were all having a ball. Antietam was gorgeous and just had a wonderful work trip slash vacation for my big boy job. But all that stuff will be up not this week, but the following week. But now we will be discussing Little Mac himself, George B. McClellan. Like I said in our last video, I'll be doing the time the general was in command. Then I'll be doing a bio on that specific general. Our Longstreet and Meade videos have done well, so it seems everyone likes to learn about the generals. I'll tell you, Little Mac as a nickname comes from the fact that Mac was a term commonly associated with people of Irish descent that had the name that starts with Mick or Mac. So with George McClellan's height, which was 5'8", which was not actually short, but between citing himself as a young Napoleon and being of petite stature, the name stuck. But let's talk now about the young Napoleon, or what I like to call him, Little Mac. George B. McClellan was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, December 3rd, 1826. He was the middle of 5 children. His father, George, was a renowned American surgeon, while his mother was a member of an influential Pennsylvania family. Originally, McClellan wanted to follow his father in becoming a surgeon, so far to the point that he began to attend a preparatory school for Pennsylvania University. But then at the age of 14, he changed his major to law. But sadly, hard times did hit the McClellan family, so they could not afford sending George and his brother John to the university. So after 2 years, George resigned himself to join the military instead. And after his father wrote to President John Tyler, who secured the 15-year-old an appointment to West Point Military Academy. The academy waived the 16 minimum age because, of course, his appointment was from the president. McClellan was a very smart and bright young man, but suddenly now he was being put in this place. He was a 14-year-old in university. His age was accepted at West Point even though he was too young. This began to create the ego that would become the future George B. McClellan. But at West Point he would make great friends, his best friends being George Pickett, Candace Wilcox, and A.P. Hill, which through their friendship he had gained a respect for the Southern aristocracy and Southern view on things, which was extremely useful during the offset of the war. McClellan would go on to graduate second in his class of 59 in 1846. He would be the top of the class that would produce the most generals on either side of the American Civil War. I will leave a link for a great book about it in the description below. It's called The Class of 46 or The Class of Star. It's a great book. I'm going to leave the link to Amazon or whatever. He would be assigned his first command as a brevet second lieutenant of engineers and sent to serve in the Mexican-American War with his fellow graduates. He, however, believed he would not actually fight since he arrived to the Rio Grande during General Zachary Taylor's ceasefire. But then Polk would transfer the majority of command of forces to General Winfield Scott. At this time, McClellan would be promoted to brevet first lieutenant. But he also would learn his style of fighting from Scott, continuous flanking maneuvers, but also how to be a general and a politician. But it's also during the Mexican-American War he would gain a dislike for volunteers and paid commissioned officers. After the war, much like his fellow engineer officers, he would be placed on assignment from fort to fort and surveying and so on. But in 1855, he was sent as a United States military observer to watch the Crimean War. For McClellan was very fluent in French, where he would also be present to watch the victory at Sevastopol. Returning to the United States, he had been writing an overseas cavalry manual based around the Russian Imperial cavalry tactics. He also slowly became a vocal critic of the new modern rifles being used. In 1857, McClellan would leave the Army, where he would become a railroad executive, where he would meet an Illinois Republican, Abraham Lincoln. He would also begin courting Ellen Mary Marcy. the daughter of a brigadier general, Randolph Marcy. She was actually had denied McClellan's proposal 9 times. She was actually in love with McClellan's dear friend, A.P. Hill. But after her father's intervention, she finally settled and married McClellan in Calvary Church in New York City on May 22nd, 1860. On May 3rd, 1861, McClellan would leave civilian life and take command of the military department of Ohio as a major general, the highest ranking officer in the Army now, with the exception of Winfield Scott. In this time, he would begin to send dispatches to Scott with tactics and strategies, many which Scott would deny in favor of his own Anaconda plan. His first operations would be in West Virginia, a newly established state that had recently seceded from the state of Virginia. His job was to maintain order and keep the peace in the new border state. But he also began to make decrees that completely went against the federal government's directives. Next was what was discussed in our Little Max mission video. I will leave that in the link below. After being removed, Edwin Stanton would post McClellan to New Jersey. It's at this time he would become active in politics, blaming the administration for the blunders while he was in command, stating they never gave him reinforcements and were constantly undercutting him. So in 1864, he was nominated by the Democrat Party as their presidential candidate. Though he supported continuing the war and preserving the Union, he was opposed to abolishing slavery. But the Democrat Party refused his point of view, instead opting for an immediate cessation of hostilities with the South and a negotiated peace. And with his running mate, George Pennell of Ohio, a known peace candidate, it was very difficult to have a clear message. Now, the victories at Gettysburg and Vicksburg, along with the mixed signals between McClellan and Pendleton, and of course, the majority of the Democrat base being in the South, McClellan will lose election, winning Abraham Lincoln a second term. Even the military, who loved McClellan, voted for Lincoln 3-1. Now he resigned his commission on Election Day in 1864, so now all he had to do was simply wait for the war to end. With the conclusion of the war, McClellan and his family would go on a tour of Europe, not returning until 1868. It was floated for him to run again for president, but when Ulysses S. Grant was the Republican nominee, the optics would not have been in the Democrats' favor. He would become the chief engineer of the New York City docks in 1870, then the president of the Atlantic and Great Western Railroad in 1872. The governor of New York attempted to nominate him for superintendent of public works in 1877, but the New York State Senate would deny for him being incompetent for the position. The same year, he would be nominated for governor of New Jersey. Since he lived in West Orange, New Jersey, he would win, being the first Democrat since 1870 to be governor of New Jersey. He was actually not well liked by his own party. During his tenure, he would put a lot of funds and resources into the Bureau of Statistics and Labor to assist the state in growing its agricultural sector. Also, he dumped funds into the State National Guard. He would only serve one term. Then he would spend his later years trying to clear his name in his memoirs and letters about his wartime service, stating that Lincoln and the War Department had purposely sabotaged him as a commander. He would then die at the age of 58 from a sudden heart attack in West Orange, New Jersey. His final words were, "I feel easy now. Thank you." George B. McClellan, though arrogant and possibly a prima donna of a general, was a very good general. His great foul was he was too concerned to order the actions that could have ended many battles and possibly the war. To quote Michael Shara's Killer Angels, "To be a good soldier, you must love the army. To be a good commander, you must be willing to kill the thing you love." McClellan did love the army, but he was not willing to kill the thing he loved. Sadly, he could have been the young Napoleon had he not been so cautious. Thanks for watching. I know I probably came off biased, but I really am not a fan of George McClellan at all. But regardless of my opinions on him as a person, a figure or anything, he deserves his story told. He's immortalized on Connecticut Avenue in Washington, D.C. with the largest equestrian monument. Thanks for watching, folks. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I love the comments. So this one may be a video that causes some debate strictly because of my biased attitude towards it. I know there's people out there that like McClellan. I've never been a fan. But again, I'm happy to discuss as long as we're all cordial with each other. And you know what? We'll see you in the next one.